What's up, Gamecock Nation? Tashawn Wanamaker here checking in, and you're about to hear the show presented by Express Suns Rooms of Columbia. Spurs up.
Here in Columbia, well, it's been buzzing loudly all weekend.
Passion of the crowd in Williams-Brice Stadium is second to none.
And the raid breaks out in Columbia.
It is good!
Gamecock fans, welcome home.
See how it goes, but we'll be ready to go.
It's time to root.
Let's go, Carolina! It's gone! Touchdown! What a hit! He baked it in! Can you believe it? Gamecocks have won this game!
Here are your hosts, J.C. Sherber.
Oh, watch him celebrate now!
Phil Molinex.
My wife doesn't like hanging around losers.
And Jamie Bradford.
I'm going to tell him, you look like you joined Duck Dynasty.
Greetings and good morning and welcome aboard Inside the Gamecocks, this show live from the Signorama Columbia studios and very proudly presented by Express Sunrooms of Columbia. Signorama is the preferred sign partner of the Gamecocks. If you've been to Founders Park, Williams-Brice Stadium, Colonial Life Arena, and pretty much anywhere on campus, you have seen their work and it is excellent. And that's why the University of South Carolina hires them to do every single thing they need when it comes to signage. If you need it for your office, your job, your vehicle, your home, your baseball field, pretty much anything that could possibly use a sign, maybe even it's just a couple of banners that need to hang or a couple of tablecloths that will go over a couple of tables, they can do all of that. They are excellent at everything that they do, from design, production, and install all the way through service, which, as we sometimes have found out the hard way, is, for whatever reason, the hardest part for people to figure out how to do. Signorama in Columbia, the preferred sign partner of Gamecock Athletics, South Carolina, owned and operated, and we're glad to have them here as well. JC, JB, and Phil until 1 o'clock. Kip Bouknight up in just a couple of minutes, and Clemson and Carolina will get ready to rock and roll, hopefully, tomorrow night in baseball. I did check in Columbia this morning. They have not had any word from the upstate yet, but it is supposed to be raining all day today and all day tomorrow. So at the very least, it might get pushed back. But we'll just wait and see on that. Before we get to Kip, my daughters are in school, so they don't hear this. So this is going into dead air, at least as it comes to their ears. But it is their 4th birthday today, and we're very proud of Hannah and Riley. So happy birthday to my little girls. I'm sure that they'll want to come back and watch this later, and they'll be happy we said their name on TV. So that'll be pretty cool, certainly. But what's up, guys?
Oh, doing well. Happy birthday, Hannah and Riley.
Yep.
Yeah.
Happy birthday to the twins.
They have no idea what's coming for them tomorrow.
Yeah, there's a lot of they share a birthday with John Bon Jovi, Luke Combs, Mikhail Gorbachev, Tua Tagovailoa, Reggie Bush, Desi Arnaz, Lou Reed, and Ben Roethlisberger.
And Dr. Seuss.
Oh, Theodore Geisel.
My app failed me for not mentioning Dr. Seuss. They probably had his real name, and they didn't say like Dr. Seuss. Come to think of it, I think they did. What's his name? Spitzel or something?
Geisel.
I don't remember
Theodore Geisel.
Yeah, Theodore Geisel. I missed that.
Didn't somebody try to cancel Dr. Seuss not too long ago for some reason?
I'm sure it's been recently.
You the latest one.
You haven't made it unless someone's tried to cancel you yet.
That's right. That's right.
If someone's tried to cancel you, you've arrived.
You're probably boring.
I almost got canceled one day for calling somebody a pansy for not liking Frank Martin or saying something about Frank Martin. I was on Twitter one day about 3 or 4 years ago. I had to go back and delete everything though, because apparently that's an unappreciated word, pansy. You know, I didn't think it was that bad.
I didn't either.
This is the closest they've come to canceling yours truly. But I'm sure I'll say something at some point.
I got called a pansy plenty playing baseball. I mean, maybe
I got called worse than that playing every sport. You know,
absolutely
right.
That made me work harder. I mean, when I was in the North-South game in Myrtle Beach, I had a coach call me a pansy. I'd played for him for like 3 days. I was like, well, all right, here we go.
Yeah, I was well.
But it is what it is. Well, this guy is not a pansy. He was a Golden Spikes Award winner at South Carolina, and he's now one of the great voices of Gamecock baseball, Kip Bouknight, who knows a thing or two about beating the Clemson Tigers. I'm sure he'd love to grab a ball and go out there and pitch this weekend. If the old right arm would hold up, Kip. But nonetheless, you'll be watching all 27 innings. That's for sure. What's up, man?
All right, guys. How y'all doing?
Oh man, we're doing fine. I walked upstairs on Saturday, probably maybe an hour or maybe a little less before the game, and I was gonna pop in. I was gonna say hello, but the door was shut, and I learned the hard way up there one time. You don't open the door when it's shut.
Well, I can assure you, you can open it up anytime. That'll be no problem. I'd love to see you up there, JB.
I know, man. I just
happy birthday to Hannah and Riley. That's awesome. 4 years old. That's pretty cool.
How old are your kids?
They're 9 and 11.
Yeah,
they are 9 and 11, and they're playing every sport: baseball, basketball, football, golf in the summer. They're loving life. They even play the piano, play the guitar. They're doing it all.
Yeah,
talented.
Isn't that the best? Have them do everything and let them figure out what they want to do.
Absolutely, because it's just like it relates to anything. I mean, if you're more times than not, if you're going to be a college athlete, you're born that way, and if they really want to be good at something, they got to enjoy it. And that's what I tell all the parents that I talk to, that I coach kids, or even just business owners that I work with on a day-to-day basis. I mean, I give them advice on that too. And, if they want to make it at a high level, they're going to be working a heck of a lot and working really hard at it. So they need to love it first. And you see too many kids get burnt out playing one sport.
That's their parents' fault.
Yes, it is.
I mean, there's no other way around that. It's their parents' fault. It's not theirs.
Right.
It's not theirs. I mean, it's a joke what some of these people think they're doing to their kids, but that's for another day, Kip. I know this. Carolina's 9-0, and the last few games, you could say haven't filled up the stat sheet offensively, the way they have in the first few games, but they're 9-0, and they're going to go to Clemson they might. Hopefully, they'll get the game in tomorrow. Feeling pretty good about themselves, Kip. So, we haven't had you on since opening day. So that means they've played 9 games since you've last been here with us. So walk us through what you've seen the first 2 weeks of the season.
So far, really all facets of the game have been much, much better than we've seen over the last several seasons, especially last year. And, I was with a client yesterday in Sumter, and we were talking about he's a huge Gamecock fan. And, he's just asking about the pitch and like where these guys came from. And I'm like, well, there was a lot of them that were injured last year, and there were some that obviously have come back. And I had a chance yesterday to watch a little bit of practice and talking to Justin Parker and Scott Wingo. My kids are taking hitting lessons from him, so that's pretty cool. But for me, going back to the Sunday game against Penn, guys, that to me told me everything I need to know about this team. I know that they haven't been tested in the SEC yet. Obviously, Clemson, a rivalry series, is always a big test and a tough matchup, but they played like crap on Sunday. They had 3 errors. They pitched well at times. They pitched good enough, but most importantly, a sign of a good team is one that's able to win without their best stuff. A sign of a good pitcher is when you can win without your best stuff. And we saw that Sunday against Penn, and Penn was a very, very good baseball team. I mean, that they had 5 or 6 arms that, quite frankly, could have been in the top 3 or 4 pitchers for South Carolina last year. I mean, they had some really, really good arms. And having said that, I agree that there's been a little bit of a struggle the last couple games. Hitting with runners in scoring position hasn't been great. They haven't executed with runners on third base, less than 2 outs. But again, if you can win anyway and do that when you're not at your best, because listen, let's face it, we know baseball, it's hard to win every game. Just like this series, everybody's like, oh, we should sweep Clemson. They've lost 4 in a row. Sweeping any team is difficult. If this team, if South Carolina goes out and wins 2 out of 3, I think it's a success for them. I think that's great. Obviously, on paper and what I've seen with our pitching staff, and as deep as it is, it's as good as I've seen in a long time. And when you can do that and pitch like they're pitching and not walking guys, we have the second most walks of any SEC team right now through 9 games. So we're pitching to contact, we're trusting our stuff, we're throwing strikes, and we're hitting the ball out of the ballpark as well, and that's helped.
Well, yeah, it helps when it leaves the yard. There's no doubt about that. I think, Kip, before the season, from the standpoint of the pitching staff, one of the things that we knew that they were going to throw out really good arms on the weekends when it came to starters. And well, hell, we knew they were going to throw out good arms in the midweek. I mean, they had starters, but kind of wanted to see where they would go with the back end. And so I thought it was really interesting last weekend because they had multiple save opportunities, and they were 3 for 3 in doing that with 2 different guys. Chris Veach, who I had no clue was going to come out of the bullpen once, let alone twice, and then Matthew Becker. So what would you make of those guys and what you've seen out of their stuff and what it takes to be a closer in their early opportunities?
Well, it's interesting. Veach is a 2-way guy, a transfer, and he closed. So he's used to that role. He's been very impressive and really good against lefties as well. And Matthew Becker, his command of his pitches are much better. We saw him last year, and when his command was on, he was as good as anybody. I mean, if his command is there, he's a Friday night starter. I mean, he's got that good of stuff, and he competes. The biggest thing I've seen is just the command with these guys, up top to bottom. I think the one guy that struggled a little bit is Nick Proctor, and it's just been his command. He's just made a couple bad pitches. He's gotten behind in the count a little bit. He throws those 2, he's got that low arm slot and throws a little frisbee up there, and he's hung it a couple times, and he's paid for it. But Austin Williamson was a guy that I really thought was going to come in on Tuesday, but right before the game, Justin Parker found out he was a little bit tender, so they didn't want to push him. So, I mean, that game could have been a lot different if Austin Williamson was around. And I just like how they're using the pitchers. And The biggest thing is these guys have the stuff, but you got to command your pitches, and they're getting a lot of easy outs, and they're getting quick and early contact. Even on 0-2, I'm seeing, I used to see a lot of guys almost pitch a little bit passive in 0-2, and they would end up, it's a 2-2 or 3-2 count every single time. I'm seeing 0-2 ground outs to shortstop, 0-2 pop-ups. And Justin Parker, he's like, I'm not concerned about strikeouts. I want outs. I want guys to be able to pitch deep in the game. And you saw a Jim on Saturday, Noah Hall pitched 8 shutout innings. I mean, and to me, his ability, there were 2 times in that game. There was an error at second base, and then there was also a questionable call by the umpire and a little bit of chatter going on in the dugout. And I just watched it from up top, and I knew, and Justin Parker confirmed it. He said he turned it on. He turned it to another level. He's like, all right, you're going to do that? That's fine. I'm going to get these next 2 guys. And he's just able to take it to another level. And that's special. And, that's why still, Sanders on Friday for me is, not my choice, but obviously I don't make those decisions. I think, Sanders is he's just got to work on his ability to be able to make in-game adjustments. And he's got to get his fastball down in the strike zone. When he's pitching up, he just it makes his 95. It's not hard to hit. And he gave up 14 home runs last year, and that's a concern for me. And it's kind of amazing to think that that's a concern. Will Sanders, a guy that everybody thinks is going to be a first rounder, but there's more to it than just being a first rounder. You got to be able to pitch and make adjustments, and he's just got to work on that. But he did look much better in his second start.
Totally agree.
Kip, Ethan Petrie is a true freshman. He's playing high school last year. 462, 5 homers, 13 RBIs. I thought kind of in mop-up or reserve duty the first couple of games, he looked like he's swinging the bat pretty well. He's a starter now. Has this surprised you at all?
No, I knew coming in that he had a good fall. They were very impressed with him. It was just a matter of, when the lights cut on, and can he handle just, playing in big-time games. I think this will be a big test for him this weekend against Clemson. The key moment for me and Petrie, what really has made me feel really confident about him moving forward is, I don't know if you saw it, but he got hit in the game Sunday. You could tell against Penn, they're what they were looking to do is pitch inside against us. And I think that anytime you're facing a good hitting ball club, you've got to throw in for strikes and you've got to throw in for effect. And they got tired of seeing what he could do. I mean, he can hammer the baseball and drive it. And they went up and in on him. They moved his feet. He luckily got out of the way. And then 2 pitches later, he got hammered and got hit. And then after that, the next 2 at-bats, he struck out. He swung and missed 2 or 3 times on pitches that we've seen him drive the other way. We've seen him drive it and pull it out of the ballpark or pull it into left center for a double. So I was a little concerned there because that sometimes can be the start of a slump. But he made an adjustment on Tuesday. He got a couple hits, and it looked much better in the batter's box. So, yeah, he's certainly not – his at-bats are not looking like a freshman right now.
We're certainly going to get into the series in just a minute, but I have a couple of other guys I want to ask you about, just see what your eyes have seen with him. Hornig, I'll ask about second. Not really concerned about him. He's just off to a slow start, as we know. But Caleb Denny, so I think this guy has kind of, I don't want to say flown under the radar, Kip. I mean, for God's sakes, he's hitting 430 through 9 games on the season. But, everybody, like, I'm not picking on you, JC. Everybody's doing it. Talking about the freshman Petrie, what's going on with Hornig, some of the balls that are flying out of the yard. They want to talk about those guys. Haven't heard a lot of questions about Caleb Denny. When I was upstairs last week, I was talking to David Cloninger, and I mentioned to Cloninger, I said, look, these are the first 2 times I've seen him, Friday night and today, in person. But understanding the game and watching him hit, I mentioned to DC, I said, he's got the makings of a professional hitter. You watch how he steps in the box, how he approaches it, his swing. I mean, it's all there. And you've thrown against professionals in pro ball. And I wanted to get your thoughts on what you see from this young man early in the season.
I like him a lot, and I agree with you actually completely. Right now, the only hole I see for him is fastballs in. He's pulled a couple hard foul for home runs, and he's kind of hooking the ball, getting around it a little bit. He likes the ball out over the plate. He drives the ball well the other way. His approach, I couldn't agree with you more. Looks very professional, looks very confident in the batter's box. Doesn't really chase a lot of bad pitches. He's chased a couple up that, anytime a lift fastball, that's a tough one to lay off of. But, there's a lot of professional hitters that get into professional baseball. And if you can execute a good fastball in, it's going to be tough for him. So, I mean, that's certainly not a knock on him. It's just something, an adjustment he'll have to make moving forward. But he does look good.
How about Horning? What do you see out of him?
Yeah, Horning, for me, I was a little bit disappointed that he hasn't gotten as many at-bats here of late. Horning was a guy that, Kingston, the whole staff, they were just high on big time because his fall and spring was so well. He has one of the best, if not the best, swing on that team. I watched him yesterday taking some live at-bats against some guys that didn't get much work this past weekend. And, he is just looks very hitterish, can hit for a ton of power. I think his bat for me is very crucial for South Carolina's success. They need him to be really good this year. And, right now with looking at Stone in center and Tippett out there and Brewer, it's one thing to have great defense and you want to have that, but you got to have a little bit of offensive production.
Yeah.
And, if Hornung's out and then you have, what they got going on now in center, it makes it a little bit tough because, but there's a lot of guys in that lineup that are hitting the ball extremely well. I've been really impressed. LaCroix has looked really good at third. I felt like there's some balls he's made plays to his left and I love Kevin Madden. I think Kevin Madden played a very solid third base. And I think Madden's a guy that could sneak back in the lineup at some time because I think he has a good approach up there, but LaCroix's played really well at third, and he's hit the ball the other way really well as well this season.
All right, Kip. Here we go. JC, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, no, I was just asking about the series this weekend. We had a little debate yesterday because the game may get rained out Friday. Carolina's obviously got some advantages with the arms they bring to this series. Would having a 2-game series would that benefit Carolina or would it benefit Clemson because then Clemson's not running out of pitching maybe as quickly, and would that negate the advantage in your opinion? Pete, we kind of went back and forth about it yesterday, so I wanted to ask you.
Yeah, I think I think you could look at it both ways. From a depth perspective, I think it could easily benefit Clemson, but it also could benefit South Carolina because if they get what they need out of their starters, or if they don't, they've got a lot more depth. They could pitch 5 guys on both days and be perfectly fine. I think for South Carolina, for me, if they again shut out that outside noise, play with the chip on their shoulder. I don't know if you guys saw it, but I believe it was his name's left me. Oh, Jonathan French on. I think it was either Saturday or Sunday. It may have been Sunday when he got hit by a pitch. And South Carolina's been getting hit a ton, 33 hit batters, I think, already this season. His celebration was like he just had a walk-off bomb or something. He went nuts. He got all pumped up and excited. And me and Wingo were laughing about it yesterday. And I'm like, what is that? And he's just like, he just freaking loves to play the game and he wants to win. And I'm like, that's music to my ears because – that, to me, has been one of the biggest missing links of this ball club for a long time. And if they're playing hungry and playing a little bit pissed off and playing, with a chip on their shoulder, who cares about if it's 2 games or 3 games or who they're playing? They need to believe that they can go out and beat anybody because what I've seen so far, again, it's going to match up to a lot of really good teams across the country because their pitching staff has been extremely, extremely electric this season.
This series, I thought that was funny too. When Wing goes in the dugout, you should just expect that people are going to get plunked. So, Kip, you know everything there is to know about this series, and now there have been some firsts because when you were playing, and pretty much everybody ever that's played in this series, you very rarely had dudes in your uniform that used to wear the one on the other side of the field. I just continue to think, boy, that's a no-no. But there's 3 of them here, including Monty. I guess you could say 4, but Monty was here before. Anyways, you get my point. Describe this series as a player when you step out there, in Doug Kingsmore Stadium. I know you never played at Founders, but when you're at home in front of our ballpark, the neutral site, all of it, just trying to encompass the entire series into your description. How would you do so, and where would you put this series nationally when it comes to the best?
Well, I think for a long time over the last, 20 years, I think it's probably been the best, with South Carolina struggling over the last 4 or 5 years. Clemson not doing as well either. It's probably dropped down from a national perspective, some would say. But it's just like for football. For me, as a former Gamecock player, I still want to see Clemson be in the top 15, top 20 as a baseball program, and South Carolina. That makes a great national rivalry. It makes it as good as anybody in the business. So getting an opportunity to play against that, I mean, obviously coming from South Carolina, being a local guy, being a Gamecock my whole life, it meant the world to me and still does. There's nothing better in life than beating Clemson. And, but when you get in between the lines, you have to stay focused. You have to be able to calm your nerves. You have to be able to calm your overall demeanor and be able to stay in the moment. And I think Mark Kingston will do a good job with the guys for that. Sometimes getting too up can be a concern, but it's really not for me right now with watching this team, because again, just everything I'm seeing, even from just advancing on balls in the dirt, going from first to third on balls to the outfield. I mean, they're just playing the game the right way. So if you do that all the time and it's expected of you, it's not just another game. Don't get me wrong. But when you get in between the lines, you just go out and play. Obviously, there's going to be higher emotions, which is, sometimes can elevate guys and make them play even better. Sometimes it can cause guys to put pressure on themselves and they don't play as well. So they just have to know what makes them good. And that's something that the staff is certainly going to have to be able to monitor throughout the series. And I'm sure they've talked about that in practice.
How many times you beat them?
Every time. I'm not sure exactly how many,
yeah,
but
I knew the answer to that question. It was a trick question.
But it was a lot of fun. Had a lot of good help.
I know. Yeah. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, there's a lot of dudes on that team that could play. Yep. Well, I sure hope they can figure a way to get it done this weekend. We know they'll at least get 2 in. Hopefully they can get 3. I've got a feeling they'll get tomorrow's game in, but it's going to be kicked a little bit, maybe an hour or 2, Kip, with all the rain coming up there. So, nonetheless, you're calling the Sunday game, right?
Yep, calling a Sunday game. Excited about it.
So if Derek is back in the booth and Tommy's in the booth on Sunday, why can't we have a 3-man crew on TV? Come on.
Originally, I thought it was supposed to be me and Drew Meyer and Dave Weinstein, which I think would be great.
You got to get Lake in there too, though.
Yeah, and I mean, and if Coach Lake, I'm trying to remember. I talked to him after the game Tuesday. I don't think there's basketball Sunday, so he could. I'm gonna make that request because having Coach Lake in there would be awesome too.
Or you just dress him up and put him down on the field like a sideline reporter.
Yeah, that would be great.
Hey, Mark, why'd you call a bunt there in the fourth inning? I'm sure that'd be,
That would be great.
Hey, Kip, thank you, man. I know we kept you a long time and we got you out of your day job for a little while, but
all good.
Appreciate everything you do for everybody when it comes to the game of baseball, certainly Gamecock baseball, and especially here. Really appreciate your insight, and go get them this weekend.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Enjoy the show. Go Gamecocks.
Thanks, you. Kip. There you go. Kip Bouknight, the best right-hander ever at the University of South Carolina. We do need to hit a timeout. I agree with Craig. Shout out to his cousin Nick, who beat Clemson twice. Nick was my roommate when he beat Clemson twice. We celebrated those wins very loudly on Wednesday nights back then when we used to play. So that was a lot of fun. And Kip, Craig, they all beat Clemson. They'll do it again this weekend. When we come back, Chris Phillips with the Spurs Up Show will pop in as well. More of this. Shane Beamer's meeting with the media, and he does have a couple of little nuggets out there on a couple of players that will miss spring practice due to some surgeries. So we'll pass that along to you as well. So everybody hang tight. Inside the Gamecocks, brought to you by Express Sunrooms. We'll be right back. The preferred sign partner of Gamecock Athletics is Signorama Columbia, and they should be yours too. A full-service sign company that handles design, production, install, and service, Signorama Columbia has helped to bring to life the perfect vision for so many all across South Carolina. Owned and operated by proud Gamecock alumni, they can handle all types of signage, including interior and exterior, vehicle graphics, and more. Go to Signorama.com and find the West Columbia location, or call them at 803-407-9284. Bring your brand to life with Signorama Columbia, and go Gamecocks.
Are you looking to buy a new home? Kevin O'Connell with Union Home Mortgage is a local mortgage expert and Gamecocks fan servicing North and South Carolina. Whether you're buying a home, building your dream home with new construction, or turning your equity into cash, UHM's world-class service will ensure you find the perfect mortgage to achieve your home ownership goals. Call Kevin at 803-906-0244 or visit UHM.com today. Union Home Mortgage is an equal housing lender. NMLS 2229, LONMLS 1772182.
Gamecock Nation, JB here, and I'm here to tell you about my new favorite painting company, A Couple of Painters. These guys are the best. Gamecock fans and excellent painters, and by far the best and easiest quote I've received. They're licensed in both South Carolina and Georgia. They offer 10% off for military, repeat customers, or if you heard it on the show, commercial and residential painting, deck, fence, and cabin staining, cabinet and furniture refinishing. They'll even remove popcorn ceilings and wallpaper, and they offer pressure washing. Find them on Facebook or call 803-522-6832. A Couple of Painters, proud partners of Inside the Gamecocks, the show.
Are you sick and tired of your business computer guy?
Yes, he takes forever to call me back and doesn't always respond to the requests.
Yeah, same here. I'm paying him good money. I constantly have issues, and I'm worried he's not backing up my network and securing it properly.
Oh, I feel that, man. My head hurts, but I have a good lead on a good idea. I'm calling your boy Matthew Odom today from Heritage Digital. Heritage Digital is an IT firm that specializes in making sure your IT network runs like a dream. If you have 1 or 500 employees, it doesn't matter. They do it all for one monthly fee and have clients from South Carolina all the way to California.
Yeah, I heard that monthly fee's low too, so I don't know why I didn't even think of that. Do you have 843-699-1001 as Matt's contact number?
Yeah, man, I sure do that. Or you can go to heritagedigital.com.
Man, I hear they do a no-cost assessment. Boy, this will help me.
Yeah, I bet.
I'm getting on that and encouraging everyone else to do the same. Heritage Digital, 843-699-1001 or heritagedigital.com, a proud sponsor of Inside the Gamecocks, the show.
This is former All-American shortstop Drew Meyer, and you're listening to Inside the Gamecocks, the show. Go Gamecocks.
Welcome back to Inside the Gamecocks, the show, everybody. Presented to you by Express Sunrooms of Columbia. Give John and his team a call, 803-446-4662. to set up a no-obligation consultation to talk about a potential outdoor retreat for your backyard. And the first hour of the show is brought to you by Cindy Searfoss and the Coldwell Banker Kane Realty team here in the Upstate. Give Cindy a call, 864-414-5271, and she will be happy to talk to you about all of your upstate residential real estate needs. Joining us now on the McKellar Enterprises guest line, none other than our high-energy friend, Chris Phillips of the Spurs Up Show. Morning, Chris. Good to see you.
Good morning, boys. Phil, JC, JB. What a busy time it is with Shane Beamer currently at the podium, and we got spring ball around the corner and the best rivalry in college baseball on deck, and Gamecocks women's golf winning a tournament, and softball's rolling, and men's basketball season's almost over, and women's basketball's about to win a ring. So a lot of positives happening. Yeah, it feels good, man. I appreciate you guys having me on. Really excited to chat today.
Yeah, just some news out of that press conference. No word on the suspended players. Beamer said it's going to be a while. That's the word I've been getting. Tonka Hemingway, I kind of knew about this a couple of weeks ago. Tonka Hemingway, Kason Henry, Mo Kaba, Jordan Strawn, which we knew about, David Spalding, all will either be severely limited or not participating in spring practice. And that's that was kind of the extent of what I got hard news-wise. But, every year you're going to have guys that miss spring ball. And with these five in particular, because I sort of think Kason Henry could fight for a spot this year, if not this year, next year, certainly. But all the other four are key guys on the defense. And you want those guys healthy by the time it gets real, I think.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you don't want to push guys in spring ball, especially a guy like Tonka, who we know what he can do, Mo Kaba when he's healthy, guys that when they're healthy, what they can do. So, yeah, I think it makes sense. I mean, spring ball, it's an exciting time. I mean, I know it's a time where you hammer down the fundamentals and you kind of reinstall. And certainly it'll be a big spring for South Carolina with Dowell Loggins. I know Trey Knox this morning was quoted as saying, and I don't want to misquote him here, he says, quote, "We're going to go really fast and try to tire out defenses." And it was funny because Shane Beamer in his availability was saying, yeah, that's news to me. I hadn't talked to Trey or Dowell about that. But no, it'll be interesting. Beamer had said they're obviously going to keep some things from last year they like. They're going to install some new things. So, he was asked about, you're going to add probably more guys in the portal when it opens up. How much do you install right now? And they've obviously got to have a playbook to present to the players and have something to install. But obviously, guys, it's a lot of fundamentals. You go to the spring game. It's nothing too crazy. It's just kind of getting the basics down. But still, it's exciting, a football program with tons of momentum, and you add tons of new faces through the portal and true freshmen. And obviously, you mentioned JC, unfortunate about the three guys that, I'm not going to draw any conclusions, but I'd say it's more than likely their careers at South Carolina. It's probably a bleak outlook, unfortunately, but either way, we'll see what happens. I think he said it's kind of a university issue at this point, sort of even out of his hands. But it's always exciting when you get another spring going, and, yeah, looking forward to it.
I would say it's ominous. Yeah. That would be my word, ominous. Kind of like, but hey, sometimes I look at the sky and it's ominous and it doesn't rain and I get to finish cooking my steak. So you never know. I mean, I do think there is a window, but it does, when you talk to people, nobody's like counting on those guys right now. Nor should they. I mean, somebody that's, that's out of the program right now. So, so I'll turn it over to JB.
Oh, that's me. Oh. Hey.
Yeah.
No, I agree. It doesn't look good. So Shane Beamer's exact words on that as we turn the attention to baseball here. Quote, "Don't anticipate them being back with us at any point in the near future, I'll say." So that's more than Shane usually says, and that says a lot. All right, Chris, it's Clemson and Carolina this weekend. It's scheduled to go at 6 tomorrow at Doug Kingsmore Stadium, but whether it's raining there now and it's going to rain all day and all day tomorrow, and it's actually expected to clear up either right before or right around first pitch, which would mean they would not be able to throw the first pitch at 6 o'clock. It would take some time to get things ready to go. So we'll see if they can get it in tomorrow night or not. Nonetheless, though, they're coming in finding ways to. They blew everybody out. The Gamecocks did, and then they've had to find ways to win the last few games. So for a roster, especially a starting lineup that's all really pretty new, playing together and trying to figure all this stuff out, I'd say that's all really good for a baseball team early in the season. Then you look in the upstate, and they've lost 4 in a row coming in, but this is what I'll tee you up with. None of that crap matters when you get to this series, does it?
Yeah, the best rivalry in college baseball, man. I mean, you think of the history, the tradition, the two teams meeting in Omaha. I mean, it really just speaks for itself. You know what I mean? I know that maybe over the last couple of years and nationally, it's lost some luster because the two programs haven't been quite. I mean, I know JB and all you guys, you recall, I remember the days of like 1 versus 2, and it was always a top 5 matchup. Tanner versus Leggett. I mean, those legendary teams. And again, 0-2 in Omaha, 2010 in Omaha. I mean, it was just great baseball every year. And it was one of those series that kind of shaped the season for each squad. But no, it's interesting, right? You look at South Carolina, JB, specifically, because I think you make a great point. You sit here 9-0, but it's 2 very different weekends the way you got to the series sweep, if you will. But I think there's a lot of value, right? There's value in winning 19-3 and scoring 49 runs over a weekend and winning comfortably. There's also a lot of value in winning a 1-0 ball game, winning 6-5, winning a game in which you have to come back and fight adversity. And, hey, you have to defy the odds of leaving 19 runners stranded and going 0 for 7 with the bases loaded and, like, finding ways to win. We always talk with Gamecocks baseball, win anyway. So there's value in that, fighting adversity. So there won't be any like unexpected adversity I would say you're going to run into this weekend. Obviously, it's going to be different. The pressure is different when you talk about this series and this rivalry and the tension, if you will, and it feels like a super regional atmosphere. These struggles that the Tigers have had, I didn't think they were going to be a very good ball club this year. We talked with Mike Rooney at D1 Baseball yesterday, which is featured on our podcast today. And, he just mentioned the roster and that they're really behind. And I believe Bakich is a good coach. I think he's going to have a lot of success there. I commended those guys for making that hire when they first got him coming over from Michigan. He did great things with the Wolverines, and you go to a place like a Clemson that has all the resources and tradition and history in baseball. So I think he's going to have a lot of success, but the roster this year is just not there. But the struggles they've had, I don't know that I saw that coming. Getting swept at home by UCF. And then USC Upstate, who, by the way, let's give a lot of credit. They're a good ball club. I think that's going to be a hell of a battle next week for South Carolina when they play them on Wednesday. But, losing 4 in a row, it's really a tale of 2 programs right now a tale of 2 fan bases, right? It almost makes you a little bit weary because it's like all the Gamecock fans I've talked to, they are just banking on a sweep. I've talked with Tigers fans, and they're like, we'd be lucky to win a game. And it's just like you like it, but at the same time, you're like, it feels too easy. You know what I mean? And normally when it's too easy, it is. But I think there's a reason, South Carolina, we should be coming in confident. And again, the Gamecocks have shown different ways to win. I think the approach is obviously much, much better early on in this season, even with some of the struggles, runners in scoring position. Give that Penn team a lot of credit. They rolled out some dudes, especially on Sunday. I mean, your starting pitcher for Penn's throwing 95. I don't know if I saw that coming. You know what I mean? They had some studs on the bump. But, I think the Gamecocks, the whole on paper, they're the better team. They should expect to win the series. A series sweep would be incredible. And I think if you get the first 2, I like your chances at Founders Park on Sunday. But, again, JB, as you mentioned, the records just really don't matter. I know we say that about football and other sports, but in baseball, it's just so true, right? Because anybody can get hot, get cold, and, it'll come down to the little things this weekend. Who can perform under pressure, leadoff walks, 2-out walks, being clean in the field, elite pitching, timely hitting. It'll come down to those things. And, like every other year, I think it'll just be an electric series all 3 games.
Well, and I'll say this too. You've got something a lot different this year that has not been getting talked about. I have not given it much public attention because we'll just kind of wait and see what happens. There's 4 people who are in the home dugout last year who tomorrow night are going to be in the visitors dugout. And, that doesn't mean that everybody's going to put on boxing gloves and run out and beat each other up. That's not what I'm saying. But there's always one jackleg, literally sometimes, who says
he's in the dugout again too, by the way.
He is. He can pull out the bat warmers. But there's always somebody who says something stupid. It happens. And guys, we've seen this game change a lot from when I played. Back when I played, if you pumped your fist and you yelled at the other dugout when you walked off the field, you got hit in the head when you came up to the plate. So, they don't do that anymore. But but there's a lot of that goes on. Smoke texted me the other day, and there was somebody on our team. He's like, "Look, I know he's our guy. I don't like it. Let's see if he chirps like that when they're playing LSU and not Penn." So there's always emotion in this game, this series, and now you got emotion with former teammates and former coaches. So I that's going to be something to watch here. And don't say anything you're going to regret, Chris, because you might owe Clemson an apology.
It's an interesting dynamic. I'll say this though, I'm not sure. I thought it would be a bigger storyline, I think, coming into the week, because I'm just not sure. Ricky Williams, unfortunately, out for the year. I don't really know how much Brewer and French are going to play. I know Brewer's fighting for a spot in that crowded outfield. And, I could see French getting a couple pinch hit appearances, but realistically, I think Messina is going to be behind the dish. And I will say this, credit to French. He's done really well when he's gotten his opportunity. So, again, I wouldn't be surprised to see him get a couple of at-bats. But, I think when those guys first came over, we were thinking maybe those guys are everyday guys, they're starters. And, but baseball is a funny game, right, JB? Like we could get to Saturday and it's bases loaded, 2 outs, 3-2 count, and Jonathan French is up with a chance in a 1-run game to take the lead. Like you just never know. Baseball's so poetic in that way. But I do think the Monty Lee dynamic, and I thought Coach Lee in his media availability yesterday, I thought he handled it like a professional, obviously, like we'd expect Coach Lee to do. And he made a great point to listen. Once the game starts, that he's not throwing the baseball, he's not swinging the bat. But I do think this team will be motivated for Coach Lee, because I think you'd be naive to think that he ain't got a chip on his shoulder, that this one's a little bit bigger, means a little bit more, that the school that just fired him, he's got a chance to stick it to him, right? And I think that team's going to want to do it for him as well. And, it's a big series for so many reasons. We don't really even need any external motivating factors, but that's a big one for sure. They'll want to get this one for Monty, and it definitely adds some extra juice in the rivalry series.
That's a really good point. And it does matter to him, just so everybody knows.
Oh yeah,
right.
And look, there's baseball. It's not as rare as other sports. I mean, you've got with the Yankees and Red Sox, you got guys like Wade Boggs and Roger Clemens that played for both, and Ricky Henderson played for both. I mean,
the difference, CJC, the difference though is when Monty left South Carolina, he just left to be a head coach. The upstate school fired Monty Lee. So I think there's a little difference. There's a little difference.
That may be similar to like Babe Ruth, like, right? That may go way back in time.
Like he got stabbed in the back, right?
The Red Sox sold him to the Yankees for cheap money. So at the time, although $100,000 back then was probably
he was rich,
pretty good penny. But
I mean, it was a nickel. It was a nickel for a burger back then, or whatever. So
everybody hopes we're talking about the curse of Monty Lee in 20 years, where South Carolina just runs away with this series.
6 more national championships,
6 more titles, and Clemson's struggling to win whatever league they're in at the time.
Jack Leggett's still the bat boy. Yeah,
Jack Leggett's still sitting there munching on some ice cream. Dude,
it honestly feels like 2010, 2011, because I get on social media after the weekend when they got swept, and I see Tiger fans blaming Jack Leggett, and I'm like, man, this is just deja vu right here.
It's his fault.
This is great. This is great.
It's amazing.
Still,
wow. Like, it's Leggett's fault. Get him out of the dugout. This is awesome.
Like, I mean, the guy won like 800 games for them. He wasn't a bad coach at all. He's a legendary coach. But
he was like Cameron from Ferris Bueller's Day Off. So you could put a lump of coal up his butt in 2 weeks, you'd have a diamond. Especially when he played Ray Tanner in South Carolina.
Yeah. Oh yeah,
but really, his success was amazing.
His teams got tight when they played Carolina. When it was on the line against the Gamecocks, they tightened up, and it just is what it is. I mean, the results.
Dude, I had Blake Cooper on the podcast a couple years ago, and he literally told me, to JB's point, that we talked about that 2010 College World Series, and he told me, he was like, after who was it? I think we eliminated Oklahoma to get to the 2-game set against Clemson. He told me, he's like, that we were the team they did not want to play, and we knew that. He's like, we knew that going on to take them. They did not want to play us, even though they had the advantage. We had to beat them twice. He's like, they didn't want to play us, and we just stuck it to them. So, yeah, to your point,
again,
a lot of truth in that.
And then I'll never forget.
Always play him in
02. I'll never forget. I'll never forget 02. I was working, just got out of college, starting my career, working at a paper in Seneca, and with a bunch of Clemson people, and they had already laid out a nice big page. Congratulations, Clemson national champions in baseball. Remember, USA Today wrote an article about Khalil Green and Clemson closing in on a national title, and then you had the 12-4 game. And then the next day I had to drive to Seneca for work. And, of course, I was just listening on the radio, and it was 5-1 Gamecocks, and I turned it over to I think Jim Phillips was still alive back then. And it was 5-1, and all of a sudden you heard Gamecocks were up at the bat. All of a sudden you heard ping, and then a yell, and then you heard, "Can we go home now?" That was sweet that day. That day, walking into that office.
Was that the Dyson home run? Did Dyson hit a home run when they were?
Dyson was the 12-4 game, I think.
Yeah,
he may have hit another one then because he got
because I think the one JC's talking about was the day game, the Bondurant game that he started.
Yeah, Bondo.
He pitched. Bondo pitched in.
Yeah. Too much.
But that was pretty sweet.
Yeah.
Well, as a young guy back then, that was sweet.
I know that like that series in Omaha was and by the way, that 2-3-4 back then for Clemson, there was that was the best 2-3-4 in college baseball. There's no doubt about that. I mean, Michael Johnson, Jeff Baker, Khalil Green, they had combined to hit like 90 home runs. I mean, it was ridiculous. But it was Khalil and Drew, and Drew showed up and Khalil didn't in those two games in Omaha. I mean, Drew Meyer made two plays in that last game that were freaking ridiculous. I think there's one still in a mural up there.
Man, that was, and then of course Carolina put him out of a regional. When was it? 2012.
Well, yeah, I was at that one. LB Danzler got the walk off. That was a great game.
Yeah,
that was awesome.
Yeah. That was what was it? That was the 12, right, Chris?
Yeah, 12. Yep.
So, and I think one of my favorite super regionals ever was 2011 because Clemson was supposed to be here.
Yeah,
but they couldn't get through UConn at Kingsmore Stadium.
That's happened twice. That happened with Oklahoma State in 2016 too. Remember? Of course, the Gamecocks got beat by Okie State as well.
That UConn team was good though.
George Springer, I think, on that team, right?
Yeah, and the pitcher was a first rounder too. What was his name? Freddie. All right, so they sweep this weekend or just 2 of 3?
I've got 2 of 3. I mean, I'm going into it optimistic, but a little bit more cautious just because, it's a rivalry series. I look at the Tigers as a desperate team, and at times a desperate team can be a dangerous team when you're playing with nothing to lose, and everybody's expecting the Gamecocks to sweep. And I think certainly South Carolina is capable of doing so. I mean, you think about it, guys. It's like if you pick South Carolina to lose a game, I'm just sitting there like, which starting pitcher am I picking against? Like, because they're all like, you feel good every single day that you're going to get the W. So I'm going a little more conservative. And I think obviously we'd all still be really happy just winning the series 2 of 3. I think you certainly have the chance to sweep again, especially if you start out 2-0. But I'll go Gamecocks winning 2 of 3. But I'm very confident in the weekend. I mean, anything less than winning the series would obviously be a massive disappointment. I think the Gamecocks just have the upper hand across the board, and the pitching is going to be elite if they're able to swing it, which UCF showed you can knock around that Tigers pitching staff. I think it's going to be a really fun weekend. So I'll go 2 of 3. I definitely think the sweep is within reach, though.
This guy, he owes Clemson an apology. This is ridiculous.
That's right.
Yeah,
that's
insane. Will Vandervoort's
going to write
very
whiny things about you.
Yeah, they're gonna say something bad.
Hey,
he ought to
just he ought to just be grateful Game 3's not at their place because we'd be recreating that video UCF did. Do Beamer's kids owe an apology too? They ran down the hill. I mean, they did it first, you could say. So I don't know.
Wow.
Good point.
It's just happening to them with such great frequency that now they're all really all.
By the way, guys, you know what I learned? Side note, I bet a lot of people didn't know this because I actually went on a Clemson show last night and talked. What I didn't realize is because of construction at Doug Kingsmore, the baseball team is using the football facility as their locker room. So they didn't sneak in. Somebody didn't let them in. They were already in. So I was like, that makes a lot more sense. But the storyline and the narrative that they broke in and did that's a lot funnier. So we should just roll with
that. Who were we talking to? It was Cloninger the other day that called the Rock a doorstep at the top of the hill.
Doorstop. Most famous doorstop in college football.
Yeah. He said he brought back the time it got chiseled and it turns out it was a Clemson fan. They swore it was a Gamecock. Friendly fire incident. So, all right. Awesome, Chris. Well, hey, I'll see you at 1:15, man. Looking forward to it, buddy.
Yeah, appreciate it, guys. JC, Phil, JB, appreciate y'all. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Yeah, man. Thanks,
too,
man.
I'll take it.
So are we going to try to hit a final break, or are we just going to hold off and do it in hour 3? What do you want to do?
We'll just do the 3 because we have no guest in hour 3. It was kind of a front-loaded show today.
Yeah, we'll
guest-wise. So
we're
I think.
Oh,
I'm on this side all of a sudden. What
but
happened?
he actually he made a good
fix.
He made a good point there about Shane's kids. I didn't remember that guy writing an article about Shane's kids.
Well, it was before the game though, and they thought it was all good until you get your butt kicked. If Shane's kids had done it after the game,
Clemson's football team runs down it before the game. When does it matter? What's the point? It's just a matter of whether you beat them or not. Okay.
They're butthurt. It's called butthurt. There's a lot of it.
There's a lot of that going around up here.
Most fan bases do have butthurt, but I'm still laughing about that. In fact, those of you that missed JB talking about it and all of us discussing it, I actually cut it up and put it on our YouTube channel where you guys stream this. We got that. We got Phil comparing the NCAA to the Homeowners Association. And we've got me talking about homeowners associations in general. Those are the 3 highlights from the week we have up so far. So if you want to check those out, go to our YouTube page. That's all you missed.
And that'll get you caught up.
But yeah, I always enjoy Chris's segment. I always enjoy Kip Bouknight being he's pretty honest, and I thought some of what he said was pretty interesting.
Well, we're going to facilitate,
guys.
We do have a little bit of pull at Carolina collectively, so we'll facilitate this 3-man crew on Sunday because we have Coach Lake joining us tomorrow. I think at 11:20.
Yep.
So if Derek and Tommy are back in the booth, I saw Tommy this weekend. By the way, he said tell everybody hello, and if we ever need him, I said, well, Tommy, you could come on for 2 hours and just give us the history of Gamecock baseball. But so if Derek and Tommy are in there they'll be in there. Oh, no. Gamecock basketball plays Saturday. Right. Yeah. So then Derek will go up or did Derek call the game on Sunday in Columbia? All right. So here's the point. If those two call the game and Kip is scheduled to be in there on Sunday, it seems to tell me that they're leaving Lake out. Well, we can't leave Coach Lake out.
No,
we got to figure this out.
Yeah.
Well, and Drew has called tons and tons of games, and I know he hasn't been able to get up to call some yet this season. So we put 3 of them in the box, and then we put 1 of them down on the field as like our version of Aaron Andrews.
Who gets to?
I don't know, man. Who plays
Drew? Drew's a blonde, so we'll put him on the field. We'll put Drew on the field. Somebody text Drew. I'll text Drew and tell him he's going to
be Blondie. Anyway,
shove a mic in King's face after someone boots one or something. So what happened on that play there, Coach? Get out of my face.
Please get out of my way.
Let's hope they're operating on a delay.
Oh man, that's funny.
I do think those some of these TV interviews are just ridiculous. Like I really do, especially in baseball when they do them in the dugout. They're like, "Coach, you gave up 7 innings in that last frame. What happened there?" I don't know. They hit 3 balls out of the yard and they scored 7 runs. I mean, what do you mean? What happened?
You know who became sort of a mini celebrity at that? I think it was during the first national championship run. Was Ray Tanner. He's like, we got to find a duck snort or a CNI dog and got to get out there and just got to do it, And you're like, yeah, that's our guy,
Yeah.
He was actually Ray had some good moments that time. I'll never forget his speech. I don't know where I'm going to go. I don't know what I'm going to do, but I'm about to say, he was like the first one. The second one was handled a little bit different. It was kind of like, all right, dog paw, great. We want another one. Super.
Yeah.
I'll never forget that as long as I live. Guys, honest to God, and I know they won the women's track national title in 2002, but I never thought in one of the sports, we all care about. And I mean, not that we don't care about the others, but I never thought to see Carolina win one. I was kind of just hopeful they'd get back to the College World Series at some point, but they knocked on the door. They won they played for it all in 2002. And then there was a period where, and I think it was fair to say they finished 3rd in 2004. But they tried to make it back, and then that 2010 team, I didn't have a lot of confidence. To be honest, they didn't do all that well in Hoover. No shock. Lost the SEC title to Florida on the last weekend of the season at home. Lost 19-6 to Clemson that year. And boy, things just Things just turned.
Well, it
went
wasn't
their
the
way.
19-6. It was the fact that the 19-6 came on the heels of losing the opening series at East Carolina and losing the series to Clemson, and that left you at 6-4 and unranked. And everybody was fire Ray Tanner, fire.
That's
Pew,
it.
pew,
That's
pew,
it.
fire.
We're done.
I hate this guy. He doesn't know what he's doing. I know everything. I'm an insurance agent. I'm going to tell you how to coach baseball. National champions. Oh my God, Ray Tanner's the best thing that ever happened.
Yeah, that's right.
And so that super regional was Coastal, and that was a tough draw, guys. They had to go with food for the supers. Yard.
Well, I mean, Chris mentioned Coop earlier. I mean, Coop's one of my best buddies, and Blake will be one of the first ones to tell you the best team they faced all year was Coastal Carolina. It was just a shame that those two drew each other like that, because Coastal, that should have probably been their first crack at winning a national championship. Of course, they ended up winning. But,
I don't remember what Carolina did in basketball that year, men's basketball. I don't think they were that good, but 2010 was a pretty good year for Carolina sports. SEC East championship in football, national championship in baseball.
Yeah.
Pretty good year. Seems
pretty
like
good show.
Seems like yesterday, but it was long ago.
It was long ago.
Carrie was, she was the queen of my nights. No.
Hour one in the books.
I have some thoughts about that song and Bob Seger in general after that.
Hour two coming up. Electric Bikes of Charleston offers the most fun you'll ever have on two wheels. The home of Ovington, Velotric, Magnum Bikes, and more, they sell to consumers all across the state and offer outstanding warranties and service after the sale. Their electric bikes are equipped with 5 levels of pedal assist plus a throttle, so you can ride longer, handle the heat better, but still get great exercise. Bikes are available for all ages and sizes. Visit electricbikescharleston.com or stop into their store in Mount Pleasant if you're in the Low Country. Electric Bikes of Charleston, powering Inside the Gamecocks, the show. The real estate market has changed dramatically from just a year ago. Rates, supply, demand, all of your traditional factors are in a transition phase. That's why if you or someone you know are considering making a move in the Low Country, contact me, JB, at Coast to Coast Realty. I work with an outstanding support cast of attorneys, lenders, inspectors, insurance agents, and more, all of whom are valuable in helping find a way for you to comfortably make your real estate decision. That's right, call me, JB, your Low Country real estate broadcaster. Golfers and wannabe golfers, former Gamecock golfer Meredith Taylor is now a full-time golf instructor in the Midlands of South Carolina. In-person golf lessons are held at the Country Club of Lexington. Half-hour, on course 9 or 18 holes. And if you're outside of South Carolina, Meredith conducts virtual lessons. Just send in your golf swing for analysis. Gift cards are available for in-person 1-hour lessons. Connect on Twitter at Mayor Taylor and find her online at McKellarEnterprises.org. Her email is on the website. Schedule your next lesson today with Meredith Taylor, former Gamecock golfer.
You're tuned into Inside the Gamecocks, the show.
Sideline is picked off. Brad Edwards will get a convoy. Touchdown, South Carolina.
Spurs. You ain't just a bird. You're top of the coop, star of the show. You're a rooster who's born to crow. Well, I bet you wonder when you win or lost a step or two. Fell down the pecking order, couldn't fight like you used to do.
Welcome back to Inside the Gamecocks, the show, everybody. Second hour of the show coming at you. It's brought to you by Express Sunrooms in Columbia. Give John and his team a call or shoot them an email, 803-446-4662, or John B. at expresssunrooms.com. Talk about how they could maybe close a porch or patio for you ahead of the summer. That way you can stop all the bugs from getting in while you enjoy having a nice picnic or meal out on the back deck.
A picnic?
A picnic. I don't know why I said picnic. Because it's outdoor eating, al fresco equals picnic.
I haven't had a picnic in a long time.
I haven't either. My wife and daughters do that every once in a while. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we have a golf cart and we have a couple of lakes, so maybe we'll put them on the golf cart and go have a picnic at some point in time in the near future. Hey, Phil, how are you? It's Jessica. We met at Chili's.
14 beers at Chili's.
Well, Phil, you've got a secret admirer.
With her friend Chris.
Oh, I know
Her last
exactly.
name
Who.
is
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Jessica
Jessica
Cristaldi.
and Chris. Yeah. Jessica
All right.
What's up, Jess?
Jessica,
Hey, good to have you in.
Yeah, I'm not picking on you. I'm picking on Phil. That's what we do around here. We pick on each other. So
we have a correction too. Shane's kids did run down the hill after the game.
They did.
Post game. Nice.
I didn't even know.
Where's the outrage? Where's the outrage from the Clemson media?
That damn Beamer, he owes me an apology.
I'm
right.
Will Hunter Beamer.
Look,
you will apologize to me.
They're not gonna lie. I just a sneaky suspicion they're gonna not really like Shane Beamer too much. Give them a couple of years.
Yeah,
I don't think they're gonna like. I think eventually they're gonna come to dislike him quite a bit.
Oh,
so.
They're gonna want him to apologize for every ass beating he gives them. Every damn one of them. He's going to have to come out and apologize everywhere around Christmas. I'm sorry to Will and Clemson Insider, whatever it is, .com.
Oh, I'm free of dealing with those guys. I don't deal with that much.
I agree with this guy.
I think the university should lean into that and just have, like this, because BRC, we need a public
Hunter
statement. Yeah, I think Justin King and Coach Beamer should put something together with Hunter behind the podium in a pseudo press conference. Definitely.
He needs to. Hunter needs to apologize. That little kid. What was he thinking?
Hunter Beamer probably will not apologize. Shane would probably apologize before the Beamer, the youngest Beamer would. That kid's. You ever watch any of the videos and stuff? Hunter Beamer's very competitive. We're actually, I found out today we're going to have Emily on the show, Coach's wife, and Stephanie Moore, Derek Moore's wife, on at some point in the next couple of weeks. They got a really cool film project they're working on together. I haven't told you guys about this.
We just figured that out.
Yeah, so we're going to actually talk. So we'll ask about Hunter and his competitiveness. Because he seems a lot like his dad, but more forward. Shane can hide it sometimes. But believe me, trust me, Shane Beamer.
Well, you can see it anytime.
Long snapper. Long snappers are competitors, man. If you do that, if you long snap, you want it. You got to want it pretty bad.
Well, anytime you get pictures of what's going on Shane's, window or walls that have been brought there by the family, there's always one on there that was like, "You better not freaking lose. Don't come home."
I think he told him he was going to kick him in the balls one time if they got.
Right. He's like, "Kick you where the sun don't shine." I'm like, man.
This kid,
I almost want to go, man. I want to go coach Little League Baseball. Just have that kid on my team. I'm moving back to Columbia and do that. I'm moving back, but I've got to have Hunter Beamer on my team.
Man, Shane's not letting kids run through his building. He's letting little criminals you ever seen the show Mayans? All the little kids who are camped out at the border, picking people off. He's all these little terrorists running around the building. Shane, if you're watching, clean it up, man. You owe us an apology.
That's right.
Close is going. The Pickett County of Pickens and somewhat of Oconee. You're actually. Is it all in Pickens? I don't know.
Hey Shane, I've got an idea for you. If you need a couple gangsters, check out my background. Look at those two.
Those two are getting after
part of the bridge.
And of course, happy birthday to them. Day has a couple of memories here. The best Ray moment was him calmly drinking the water after we got out of one of those late jams against UVA. That game, my God, I still get tense thinking about that those Virginia games. In 2011, especially because, they only played them once because South Carolina didn't lose. Especially because it was compared to the UVA coach who's throwing his water.
Well, I don't blame them because they should have won that game multiple times and they couldn't.
And in 2010, Carolina did beat number one Kentucky because that was the year because Virginia was number one in baseball. So that was, wait a minute. Over the course of the year, South Carolina beat the number one team in the country in all three sports.
Yeah, but baseball was Arizona State when they beat them.
That's right, Arizona State. Alabama was football, and then that's right, because Arizona State was the win was game 2 after they had lost to who? Oklahoma in the first game? Or was it A&M?
To Oklahoma.
They beat A&M by a run. There's that. There's all that. So
I respectfully disagree with A. I think one of my favorite moments with Coach Tanner was back in 2006 on a trip to Auburn when one of my roommates struck out swinging after looking at 2 fastballs right down the middle, and Coach Tanner told him it wasn't his fault. He wanted to kick his own ass for recruiting him to South Carolina. That would be one of my favorite Ray Tanner moments.
That's like Spurs. Shoot, it's not their fault. It's our fault for playing them.
Only people understand Coach Tanner, man. He can clean it up, but if you put him on a ball field like the rest of them, he's a ball coach. That's what it comes down to.
Yeah, it's funny. Kip mentioned Caleb Denny, and he's off to a good start. I think this kind of went under the radar because he was an excellent hitter at Oral Roberts last year, and Oral Roberts is a pretty good baseball program. A lot of people don't know he started in Arkansas. That was his first. Didn't play so much, so he transferred back. He's from Owasso, Oklahoma. Which I think Jonah Bride, somebody pointed that out. Jonah Bride is from Owasso, and somebody else. Shoot, I got to scroll back. It's in the award-winning Nana Sports chat. Braylon Wimmer's from Oklahoma, but I don't think he's from Owasso.
He's not from Owasso. No,
he's not from Owasso. I don't know where that is, by the way. But there's a lot of players from the middle of the country on this roster.
Yeah,
Jack Mahoney from up here all the way down through Kansas, through the great state of Oklahoma.
I'm from New York. I mean, Kansas.
Kansas.
Chris Sox is happy.
Chris Sox says he's happy I've got his last name on my visor today. I actually did that for you, Chris. No question. Sonder asked if Shane Beamer's lost control of the program because his kids ran down the hill. That would be a column I could see them write. Some of those guys up there. Right. I don't want to paint a broad brush.
Come on, let's feed the beast, man. Let's do it.
Man.
Let's set them up. Let's feed the beast here. Who all do we know up there that we can call and just feed them information? Dude, you're not gonna believe this. Like Beamer's kids, spray painted the tail on that tiger that's outside of the stadium.
What?
They poisoned the lake.
I'm gonna demand an apology.
Scratched the rock when he ran down the hill.
Yeah, they TP'd Dabo's house.
You should have seen Hunter Beamer with both middle fingers up.
Yeah. Oh man.
Throwing batteries.
He was throwing batteries.
What was that? Which by the way, I got. I don't know if y'all remember Hardy Sanders. I went to school.
Yeah, I remember Hardy.
Hardy was an offensive lineman at Carolina. I retweeted it last night. But Hardy was watching the show yesterday, and he tweeted us and said, I'm reading it. He said, when y'all talked about Clemson fans saying we throw batteries, he said 2008, Dabo's interim year was my senior year, and I got smacked in the face by a full 20-ounce Coke running off the field after the game. Clemson, hey, their fans, they throw soft drinks at every player. Every fan in the stadium throws a soft drink every time.
It rains down soft drinks.
It's a bunch of soft drink throwers up there.
We're just throwing prayers at you. That's holy water.
No. You owe them an apology, JC.
I do owe them an apology. Dude, this Clemson apology thing is going to go life of its own.
Yes,
no. If the Gamecocks sweep them this weekend, I am going to write an apology and read it on the air. Dearest fans. Dearest fans of dear old Clemson. Dear old Clemson's in there. I'm be like, dear old Clemson. I would like to express heartfelt condolences.
Yeah, we apologize.
I'll be like Bill Clinton. I am profoundly sorry.
I'm
sorry.
Chris just hit the nail on the head. This just in: Duracell inks deal with Hunter Beamer to enhance the battery chucking experience at Carolina football.
That's right.
Yes.
Jesus don't love y'all because y'all throw batteries.
Oh man! Yeah.
Well, look, man. When you finally beat him in football after 10 years, and for some reason, they're ACC contender in men's basketball. You beat them with this team. And you may keep them out of the NCAA tournament.
How bad is that? Oh,
you can crow a little bit this year. You can crow a little bit this year.
Is that for us? And that loss to us might keep them out of the tournament because it's such a bad loss.
To me, it's cool this year. Most years, though, I'll tell you guys a little secret. If South Carolina's in the hunt for the NCAA tournament, I actually pull for Clemson in basketball against some of those big time ACC programs.
Oh yeah, because you have to the way it's
because their strength of schedule that's college basketball, and I hate the net ranking now, and it pisses me off, and we'll talk about that closer to March Madness. But I don't. It doesn't like bother me. I don't pull for like Wake Forest against them in basketball, or anything like that. I think the rivalry matters a whole lot. It's 365 days a year in football. I think it is in baseball. I think in basketball, you kind of go. You want to win, and even if you don't, you're like, well, gosh, I hope they play a little better because that some years that's South Carolina's best non-conference game, and vice versa, or it can be a very good game. Now, back in the Rick Barnes, Eddie Fogler era, obviously, that was a little bit different because both teams were really good. But actually, both teams were in the top 5 in 1997 when they met at Little John.
Man, think about this for a second. To y'all's point, can you possibly dream up a scenario in recent memory? In my lifetime, I know I personally cannot, where a 21-9 team who went 13-6 or 13-6, doesn't matter, 13 or 14-6 or 13-7.
14-6.
The fourth best team in the ACC got left out of the NCAA tournament.
That's why I hate the net, and the Clemson fans that are about to send a bomb in the mail to Carefree Drive. I'm on your side with this. I
agree.
I thought Wake Forest got screwed last year. I don't know who's decided all of a sudden the ACC is not a good basketball conference. Why? Because Duke and North Carolina aren't that good. Why?
Exactly
who's determining this? And people like Andy Katz and John Rothstein and the national basketball media. We sometimes we complain about the national football media. But the national basketball media, they love to pick winners and losers. And this whole net rankings thing they came up with was done in a lot of conjunction with the national basketball media. So it's like if they just decide a league's down, screw it, it's down. And I know there's metrics too. The metrics aren't everything. And then the net is holding that South Carolina loss against Clemson like it was yesterday. Mm-hmm. And it's not. And it used to be, with the RPI, and then the selection committee would sit there and go, well, these guys finished this good. That loss in November doesn't matter. If you're going to count those games in November, move the damn season up because it starts too early. At 90% of the campuses across the country that care about basketball, they don't care yet. It's early. It's not even Thanksgiving. And you're going to count that loss, and make that because every win and loss has to count even. I don't agree with that. And I think the net, if it screws Clemson out of this year, I don't like it. And if it screws Wake Forest, it screwed Wake Forest. And you see what happened last year, right? North Carolina was supposed to be, they just snuck in. They were an 8 seed. What happened? They played for all the marbles. Pretty good basketball team, right? Miami, pretty good basketball team. Went to the Sweet 16. I just refuse to say that overall the ACC is as bad as people think. And I think going 14-6 in that league in any year, considering the programs you have to face, the venues you have to go into, the fact you play 20 freaking conference games should get you in. And I was that passionate about Wake last season too. So I'm not just jumping there, but yeah, I think that would be rare, JB. I mean, I've seen teams that have won 7 ACC games get into the tournament. Now they didn't play 20; they played 18. But it's baffling, and it's because of the net. And I think the net sucks, and I think it cheapens the sport. And I think the committee right now is lazy and is married to it for no reason. They keep taking criteria out of it, which would make it a little more fair. And I just I think Frederick says you can't lose to a 3-win Louisville at the time. I know, but man, I watched just about every possession of Louisville and Virginia, at the Yum Center or whatever, and Louisville took them to the wire, and Virginia's a lock. You know, I get you, I understand, but I think there's a lack of common sense with the basketball selections in general, and I think I think that it's kind of sad.
I think so. What's happened here, and I know people don't want us to overwhelm our show with Clemson basketball, but but what's happened here is they're 3-5 in their last 8 games, and you know how. But with that said, the last 2 games that they've played, they beat a team that everybody has in the tournament, NC State. They beat them by 25, and then they lost to Virginia on the road by 7. So, I mean, it's really like if they beat Notre Dame and they get to 22-9, I mean, and Notre Dame really isn't very good, but like you look at the body where I know we've been picking on Clemson, but this has nothing to do with whether you like your rival or don't like your rival. This is about what's right, what's wrong, and who deserves to be where. You look at their body of work this year and the wins that they have, it's just hard for me to understand. Yeah, they've got a couple of bad losses there, but they beat NC State twice. They've beaten Duke. I mean, you know, they've got a bunch of good wins that should have them in the tournament as well. And I just think they should be in there. I mean, I don't.
Yeah, Loyola Chicago is awful. They're below Frank's team in the Atlantic 10 in dead last, and they beat them by 18, and then the South Carolina loss.
They beat Pittsburgh.
And then the Louisville loss. So that's 3 atrocious losses. But I think that, you know, your wins and your record, you know, so what? You have 3 bad losses, and I don't know. It's one of those things. So anyway, we'll see what happens. Selection Sunday's coming up pretty soon.
Well, they have their chance to get in. I mean, you win the last game and then win a couple of games in the ACC tournament. You're gonna be in the tournament. I mean, I don't think there's any more question. I mean, you get to 24 wins. How do you keep a 24-win team in the ACC out of the tournament? That wouldn't make any sense. Electric Bikes of Charleston offers the most fun you'll ever have on 2 wheels. J.C. Sherbert is the most fun you'll ever have on 2 feet. But if you're going to be on 2 wheels, you want to have a bike from Electric Bikes of Charleston. They've got Aventon bikes. They've got Magnum bikes. They're just unbelievable. But they're even better when it comes to service and warranty at Electric Bikes of Charleston. They service the entire state of South Carolina. They sell to everybody everywhere because these things are so sweet. They can get you through the mountains. They can get you through the beach. They can get you through the parks and the Midlands. Wherever you are, they'll get you through them. But remember, you don't always have to be in pedal assist mode. They're there to help you get where you need to go or to get you home if you've gone too far, maybe. Or maybe you had one too many if you're out on vacation. Clients from Hilton Head, Myrtle Beach, Charleston, Columbia, and everywhere in between come to Mount Pleasant, and they all very easily, like you can all do right now on your phones, if you're thinking about getting exercise as spring arrives, go to electricbikescharleston.com. We certainly appreciate them. By the way, if you're thinking about getting a new bike and you got a place that you like, but they're not Gamecock owned and operated, this one is. Electric Bikes Charleston, powering Inside the Gamecocks, this show. All right, so we will hit a timeout. And when we return, I don't know the answer to the question. I was going to do my homework this morning, but I figured I would just ask the 2 of you to see if you have the answer. The question is, I'll wait and ask it when we get back, because something happened last night in college basketball that is very, very rare. However, Carolina basketball has done this before. So we'll talk about that and much more right here on Inside the Gamecocks, the show.
I love the smell of napalm in the morning.
Easy. He's got a tiger by the tail, he has.
He'd better hang on, too.
People have spoken. Nana's Porch was voted the 3rd best food truck or trailer by the Charlotte newspaper Public Poll. Also, their pimento cheese took 3rd in a contest exclusively for products made in the state of North Carolina. I will let Noah Hall tell you about the rest. Nana's Porch, Southern cuisine with an uptown twist.
We're well into the new year, and the days of being back in the pool and boat are quickly approaching. Many of us don't have the time to hit the gym, but Charleston Fitness Equipment can change that for you. Outfit your home with a treadmill, elliptical, or my favorite, a home rower that allows you to row with the pros all over the world. They have free weights, home gyms, flooring, and much more that makes keeping or getting in shape much more convenient. Located in Mount Pleasant, visit charlestonfitnessequipment.com for more. Get in shape like our Gamecocks. Charleston Fitness Equipment, proud partners of Inside the Gamecocks.
Gamecock Nation, do you need a place to stay for the big game? Many hotel booking engines keep all the commissions, but at Fan Plans, you support Inside the Gamecocks, still earn your hotel loyalty points, and you receive an email with direct confirmation from the hotel. Whether you are visiting Columbia to cheer on Carolina or hitting the road to follow the team, get in the stands with Fan Plans.
Family vacations, a new car, a new boat, all cost money, but you don't necessarily have to make more to afford any of that if you can save cash that's flying out the window now. iHelp Consulting can help you finally get the kids to Disney World, upgrade the minivan, or drop that new boat in the water next summer. Let Daniel and iHelp Consulting consult with you. No fees, just savings. You pay them a percentage of those savings. Save on essential services, credit card fees, you name it, let them find it. These folks are incredible. iHelpConsulting.com. How can I help you?
This is Coach O. Now back to the show. Go Tigers in the song.
Welcome back to Inside the Gamecocks, the show, everybody. Presented to you by Express Sunrooms in Columbia. Give John and his team a call, 803-446-4662. Talk about how they can bring some sunshine into your life this summer. I'm sorry, I'm distracted. I was doing something.
Do you mind, Phil? You owe us an apology.
Is there a show here?
Somebody's going to buy a sunroom. Thank you.
Doing something for the show. That's all right. Hey, if you do call John and decide to go with a project for him, he has assured us that you will get $500 off the project cost. So do not hesitate to give them a call at Express Sunrooms of Columbia, 803-446-4662, or send him an email, johnb@expresssunrooms.com. And we're back.
So behind me here today is our twin girl's birthday. On my right, that would be Hannah when she was born, and on my left, that would be Riley. So they're a little older than that now. But happy birthday to my little girls who have tried to kill me multiple times, but they also somehow keep me alive. Last night, Vanderbilt went into Lexington and beat them on Senior Day. South Carolina did that in 1997. They swept Kentucky that year and did so on Senior Day. Is that the last time Kentucky was beaten on Senior Day in Rupp Arena? Anybody have any insight into that?
No.
And I don't know. Did Florida get them one year? I don't know. I have no idea.
It's very rare. And as a matter of fact, that Carolina team, as good as they were, that Kentucky team was super. And
they won it all. They won the whole thing. No, they lost to
Arizona won it all.
But Arizona. Miles Simon. Simon says championship.
But they had Scott Padgett and I think Jamal McGlure was on that team. Scott Padgett. What was the guard's name? Oh shoot! What was his name?
He was good.
He was really. They were all good.
He shot Travis Ford won on that team. Ford was before that. Anyway, yeah, that was a tremendous season for Gamecock basketball that ended badly.
Yeah.
Tony Delk? No, that was before, I think.
Tony Delk might have been on that team.
I thought I remember Tony Delk playing against Kerry Rich when he was bad. But, when he was bad, when he was playing, when he was a player. I thought Tony Delk was like early SEC era.
Yeah.
Hey, look. All right, I'm just going to look it up.
Yeah, that team's loaded. By the way, to your point, JC, And I think somebody asked the question a little while ago. I'm not going to go back and look at it right now, but like Clemson is 64th in the net rankings. They, as of last night, so they dropped 2 spots yesterday without even playing a game. And you look at the others that are all right. So their combined quad 1 and quad 2, they're 7-5. So 12 opportunities in quad 1, quad 2. They're 8-2 in quad 4, which is a big stat. And I don't, are we quad 3 or quad 4? I don't know, but I know that Loyola is probably a quad 4 loss. So we're either a quad 3 or quad 4 loss. But to compare, there's a couple of comparisons I'd point out here. So Florida is 15-15 overall, but they're 4 spots higher in the net ranking simply because they've played 17 quad 1 and quad 2 games. However, they are 3-14 in those quad 1 and quad 2 games. All right. So like, and then you've got some other comparisons, like the rest of the teams that are in that first 4 out, like with where Clemson is right now, North Carolina, Oklahoma State, and Michigan. Michigan is 54th in the RPI, but they're just 17-12. And they're 3-10 in quad 1 opportunities, but they're 6-1 in quad 2 opportunities. So a combined 9-11, so on and so forth. I'm going to sit here and read everybody's stats. But I guess my point is, like, what we have seen a lot is that over the years you have, and this happened to Carolina in 2016, if people remember, right? Like you'll get bumped in the net rankings and somebody will get bumped above you. Sometimes not necessarily because they have won more than you, but because they have played more quality games based on the formula. So like Florida is 3, they've won 3 out of 17 games, quad 1 and quad 2 opportunities. But yet per the net rankings, they're a better basketball team than Clemson. My question, and I think I'm not going to speak for you guys here, but I think everybody's question when we get caught up in the net rankings always comes down to one thing. At what point in time do wins actually matter? Because we have won, Clemson's in here going, we've won 21 ball games. And then there's teams that we're, quote, fighting to get in with who've won 16 and 17 ball games. There's teams that they've swept NC State in the regular season, and they're comfortably in the tournament. And I don't think NC State's record is any better than Clemson's.
It's crazy. Yeah, it head-to-head doesn't even matter. I mean, I think they need to redo it. I think they need to stop being so married to the net. And sometimes when the NCAA comes up with something on their own, they tend to overvalue it, I've noticed. And I'm just not a fan. I mean, I'm not a fan of how much they weigh efficiency. I'm just not a fan of the way that it kind of takes away. And like I said, Wake Forest to me got screwed last year too. And who decided that the ACC was down and that all the, because a lot of this in this net ranking, you have to start somewhere. Who decides where you start? That it's just kind of crazy to me. I looked this up. Kentucky actually has had some frustrations on Senior Day. Now, before 2020, the Wildcats were 52-3 on Senior Day. They lost to the Gamecocks in 97. That was the first time since the 60s that they had lost on Senior Day at Rupp. Florida, one of those national championship teams, got them in 06. 09, they lost to Georgia, but that was Billy Gillespie's final game as the coach there. But since 2020, they lost to Tennessee in 2020, lost to Florida on Senior Day in 2021, although they did play the Gamecocks in quote unquote their final home game because it was a reschedule because that was the pandemic year. They did beat Ole Miss last year, but then they lost to Vanderbilt in 2023. So Kentucky basketball has been on quite a stretch of, and that gets back to something Keith has started to talk about college basketball that I actually agree with. There's so much about recruiting AAU. AAU is kind of where you go recruit guys, very little from the high school ranks. And he asked me one day, we were talking, and he said this on the air. When you ever see a AAU team get to the championship of their tournament and their team loses and their players are laying on the floor crying?
Right.
Are devastated about the loss. No, they give each other high fives, walk off the court. I think sometimes I think sometimes a lot of these college basketball coaches are going to have to start valuing competitiveness over maybe high upside talent. I think you need warriors, and watch the NCAA tournament. Why is Villanova, which, they've been, I know Jay Wright's not there anymore, but they're kind of back. They've been one of the more consistent championship contenders, and they do have, quote unquote, 4-star guys and some 5-star guys, but they're not nothing like what Kentucky and Duke and North Carolina recruit. Yet they're right there every year. You know why? Because they compete. They don't like to lose. Why is Tennessee really good? Because they compete. They get in your grill. Why? And I think that's very telling about Kentucky. Looking at that, because Calipari hasn't changed. He recruits all these one and doneers, and they run into situations where, hey, senior day is supposed to be one where you go out there and you don't want to lose no matter what. Yet, in that proud program, they've dropped all but one since 2020.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say is what how much emphasis is put on senior day at Kentucky anymore for the exact reasons that you just laid out, JC. Because, I would imagine there's probably a lower percentage of seniors on that team than there are underclassmen, right? And it's probably, and I happen to think that directly reflects their, recent success or lack thereof inside the tournament. There's a lot to be said for a team that has spent years and years gelling. It's one of the reasons why you can see these mid-major teams go into the round of 16 and 8. And then you start digging in, and it's talent and coaching at that point. But, hey, I am not surprised to hear that Kentucky has lost on senior day, because I just don't feel like as a program it means anything to them.
Well, by the way, this Kentucky team that Pitino had, check this out. Alan Edwards, who, by the way, was an assistant under Frank Martin at South Carolina, or is now an assistant under Frank Martin at UMass. His brother, I think Douglas Edwards, was Martin's director of player personnel or something. He was on that team. Wayne Turner was on that team. Nazir Muhammad was on that team. Cameron Mills was on that team. Derek Anderson was on that team. Jared Prickett was on that team. Ron Mercer was on that team. Scott Padgett and Jamal McGore. Yeah, they were pretty much loaded.
Yeah, the whole team went to the NBA.
Right.
Yeah, those guys are pretty much loaded. So,
the whole team went to the NBA, like literally.
Yeah, exactly. So and they lost to the Gamecocks in overtime at McGuire Arena and lost on homecoming, and then proceeded to eviscerate almost everybody until they played Minnesota in the Final Four, and then lost by the same score to Arizona that they lost to the Gamecocks, 84-79 in overtime in the national championship. And Arizona that year, it was Mike Bibby and Miles Simon, kind of like B.J. Mackey, Larry Davis, Melvin Watson. So that maybe I would have to go back and look, but maybe that was a team that struggled with teams that had really good guards. I don't know, but that was the loaded Kentucky Wildcats team of yore.
Before we hit a timeout here, let me give everybody a quick update on what's going on in Greenville at the SEC Women's Basketball Tournament, guys, because the winner of this game is going to advance to take on South Carolina tomorrow at noon on the SEC Network. It is 9th seeded Missouri and 8th seeded Arkansas. Currently, the Razorbacks lead Mizzou by 3 with 4:53 to go in the second quarter of that game. Immediately following this game, you'll get A&M and Mississippi State. Auburn and Georgia will be the first game of the night session, and then to round it all out, you've got Kentucky and Alabama. Now, Kentucky, I don't know what's happening with this, because Kentucky and Florida had a combined 8 young ladies ejected from yesterday's ball game for fighting, which is a joke. I guess that happens when both of you suck and neither one of you have a prayer going to the postseason.
The girl threw the ball.
Yeah, threw it at her.
She tossed the ball all the way across the court. She's like, I'm not taking this anymore. And missed badly.
you know, when you're playing for basically third place in this tournament, I guess it doesn't matter. But that's what's going on up there in Greenville. So right now, just a small lead for the Razorbacks over Missouri. And a reminder, SEC women's hoops tournament coverage on our program is teed up by travelingcountryclub.com. Become a member today and tee it up with travelingcountryclub.com, your new golf experience, steep discounts and privileges at over 40 golf courses in the Carolinas. Travelingcountryclub.com. JC?
All right. Seth asked, are you guys thinking about doing any meetups, events, tailgates for Carolina Rise, or anything on the horizon for the future? Working on potentially a 2-day, one in Charleston, one in Columbia, sort of go out, meet the players kind of thing. It'll be a fundraiser. So bring your wallet, buy tickets and all that. And then for the North Carolina game, depending on the kickoff time, if it's a noon kickoff for whatever reason, I doubt it. I was talking to Mike Morgan the other day, and he kind of agreed that it'll probably be, one of the better kickoff times. Probably going to do it upright, get a little Nana's porch out there, get a little show action going. I'll be in town for that, and probably have a Carolina Rise VIP tailgate. That'll be more of a thank you for the members than a fundraiser. The first one will probably be a fundraiser, but all that. And also earlier in the show, somebody asked, have we ever been to a Kentucky baseball game? I have not. I don't know, JB. I know Phil probably has not been.
I've been to I saw that, and I forgot all about the question about away baseball games. So I tell you what, I know we need to hit a timeout. So why don't we do that? And we'll answer that question in a little bit more when we return here on Inside the Gamecocks, the show.
Just as your State Farm agent combines good neighbor service with surprisingly great rates, you can combine your home, auto, life, or small business insurance with Tony Pope State Farm Insurance today. And guess what you'll get? That's right, even more good neighbor service with surprisingly great rates. In fact, Tony Pope State Farm is your go-to agent anywhere in South Carolina, North Carolina, or Georgia for the service you deserve at the price you want. So try combining your home, life, auto, and or small business insurance today. Tony Pope State Farm has been in business for more than 30 years and can handle anything you need in the tri-state area. Once again, Tony Pope State Farm will help you mix and match perfectly. Call 843-851-2222 or visit TonyPope.com today. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
If you're in the upstate of South Carolina and are in need of residential real estate services, Cindy Bass Searfoss of Caldwell Banker Kane is for you. Ask her about the Village at Creekside, all of her listings. In my hometown, Spartanburg, South Carolina, right there on Daniel Morgan Avenue, married to a lifelong Gamecock fan. And many of our listeners have already bought homes from her and been 100% satisfied with the detail and care she uses. Cindy Searfoss, 864-414-5271. Caldwell Kane in the upstate for your real estate needs.
Are you looking to buy a new home? Kevin O'Connell with Union Home Mortgage is a local mortgage expert and Gamecocks fan servicing North and South Carolina. Whether you're buying a home, building your dream home with new construction, or turning your equity into cash, UHM's world-class service will ensure you find the perfect mortgage to achieve your home ownership goals. Call Kevin at 803-906-0244 or visit UHM.com today. Union Home Mortgage is an equal housing lender. NMLS 2229, LONMLS 1772182.
Hey man, are you sick and tired of your business computer guy?
Yes, he takes forever to call me back and doesn't always respond to the requests.
Yeah, same here. I'm paying him good money. I constantly have issues, and I'm worried he's not backing up my network and securing it properly.
You know what, Phil? Let's ask Stone Blanton.
Hey, JC and Phil, if you want a solution to your IT problems, give Heritage Digital a call. Our boy Matt Odom has a low-cost, one-price solution that will get you running right. Call 843-699-1001 or heritagedigital.com and ask for Matt. He will hook you up today and tell them Stone sent you.
This is freshman All-American Nikki Warrior of the Carolina Gamecocks, and you're listening to The Show with JC and Phil.
Welcome back to Inside the Gamecocks, the show, everybody. Presented to you by Express Sunrims of Columbia. Give John and his team a call, 803-446-4662, to set up an appointment to talk about how they can get some more sunshine in your life. And, of course, if anybody is traveling to Greenville or anywhere else to plan to see the Lady Gamecocks play, or, excuse me, Gamecock women's basketball team play, then hit up Fan Plans. Still works. Not just for the bowl game. Fanplans.com, Inside the Gamecocks. In fact, you can do that for any of your travel. So if you travel for work, do us a favor. Show some support for the show. Hit them up. Price it. See what they get. All of your rewards and loyalty points will accrue through fanplans.com, just as a reminder.
Yeah, and Fan Plans, too, part of the deal is part of that supports the show. Part of it supports Carolina Rise, so you're helping players. And like Phil said, you some of these places you get, you don't get your points if you book through Expedia or whatever you do with Fan Plans. They also recommend to use their live chat service, so they make sure they can customize your packages and all that. Reasonable prices on there. You got the Garnet Black Spring football game in Columbia if you're coming in for that. Baseball games are obviously available. You got they have their own baseball page. They set up a baseball page for us. Yay! So if you're traveling with the Gamecocks, hit up fanplans.com. Like I said, it helps us. It helps Carolina Rise, and just about all we do. So that's good. Good plug there, Phil. Thanks for thinking of Fan Plans. I actually talked to Greg. My guy from Fan Plans hit me up the other day, and he's got a new commercial coming for us and stuff. So we're still excited about that partnership.
Well, and if you are planning to travel to watch Carolina play this season in baseball, I'm sitting here looking at the road schedule. They lead off SEC play on the road in Athens, Georgia, which I've been there. It's a neat ballpark. It's the fraternity houses up down the right field line are pretty funny. They do I think we talked about that with Coach Lake. They do their homework. There's no question. And then they do go to Starkville, Mississippi. I've not been to that new ballpark, but I do know two of the coaches there, Chris Lamonis and Scott Foxhall, and they just rave and rave and rave about it. Carolina's on the road in Nashville at Vanderbilt, the 14th, 15th, and 16th of April. So that's the week after Easter. And I've been to that stadium. That's a dump. And then they're going to Kentucky in May. I haven't been to the new ballpark. I have been to the old ballpark in Lexington, which was a major dump. It was an erector set with about a 290-foot wall down the right field line, and they'll tell you, oh, no, it was 310. Oh, get the good – oh, my God. If it's 310, then I'm 6'5". There's no way it was 310 feet down the right field line. That was the biggest crock of crap in the SEC. And then they go to Arkansas to finish the season. That is always a difficult place to go. Thank you, Hope. I will pass that along. I appreciate that. Just to that question that we had earlier, have you been anywhere in the SEC? I've been to Kentucky, been to Neyland or Lindsey Nelson, which they have fixed that a little bit too. I know they have got a bunch more stuff coming, but that place used to be a dump as well. Athens is pretty cool. I'm going to tell you, in the East, it's not even close. I mean, Carolina, it's literally not remotely close. Carolina's got the best ballpark in the East. In the league, it's Mississippi State. And Arkansas is probably a very close second. The atmosphere at Ole Miss is unbelievable. LSU, obviously, when they're good, that place is really loud. They build it that way. I've been to Auburn. Auburn's okay. It's a neat ballpark. It's kind of fits with Auburn. Alabama, I've not been to what they've redone out there. But the old one was just kind of a chunk of concrete. It's interesting. Like the old Sarge had as much uniqueness to it as anywhere in the league for the older ball. Everybody's pretty much redone theirs now, but the Sarge was really, really unique. I've been to Boshemer in Chapel Hill. That's it's okay. It really is a wine and cheese crowd. But I'll tell y'all, a fun place to go watch baseball. That's East Carolina. That place is nuts.
Never been to ECU. Now, so just for South Carolina baseball games, I've been to Georgia.
I've been to Clemson, obviously.
Last time I went to a Georgia Carolina baseball game, I think was when we all went to the top of Gainesville, the strip club I was telling you guys about.
Oh,
yeah, because the game got rained out anyway. But I've been to Georgia many times. Clemson several times, Tennessee once, Vanderbilt a few times. I used to live in Nashville. Now, I've been on campus because I used to travel during the spring for work for what you call Nike football training camps, and they're on all these campuses all over the place. So I'd be out there working on the adjacent football fields while baseball was going on, and that was kind of cool because I kind of got from close but far away. That's a U2 song, by the way. It's close yet far away. I don't know. So close but far away. In the morning, walked in for a pack of cigarettes. Just don't smoke. Don't even want to. Anyway, I was singing that in the car the other day. Sorry. That's how my brain works. But Florida, Missouri, LSU, I don't know if it was the new Alex Box or not. I'd have to look up the year that opened. But there was a game going on there. Ole Miss, Texas A&M, Auburn, and Alabama. So I've actually been on campus while a baseball game is going on at a lot of these places. Florida, of course, it was the old stadium. But, to watch Carolina, just Georgia, Clemson, Tennessee, and Vandy. So
Vanderbilt's is really again, I think it's a dump, but it's connected to the football stadium, so it's kind of interesting because you can go see where all 35 of their fans sit, like during the football games, like while you're there.
And the basketball arena is right there too. That weird basketball arena is right there too. I mean, it's all right there.
By the way, R.I.P. to the Vandy Whistler. He passed away last week, and it's sad. The SEC has had some strange baseball. Carolina for the longest time was known by Mr. Bill. He used to always wear the hard hat. He's a veteran. Oot oot. And Georgia had the guy who always painted the dog on top of his head, and he passed away. And Vandy's got the Whistler, and he's passed away. LSU's just got a bunch of drunks, but they're pretty funny. There's great fans all over the league.
Xavier says about Beamer's kids running down the hill. I saw where one Clemson fan said he hopes they broke both their effing legs.
I saw.
Yeah. Well, look, man. There's sick people in every fan base. Now, there are quite a few Clemson fans on Twitter, especially, that are sick, and Facebook too.
Yeah, stay classy.
But those people are called psychopaths.
When you said in the next couple of weeks we're going to have Miss Emily on, right? Shane's wife.
Yeah, sure.
All right. So whenever we have Miss Emily on, let's ask her if we can't get Hunter on here and allow him to explain himself as to why he thought. I don't know if his sister was with them or what, but
I think it was both of them. They both owe them apologies.
Yeah, the Beamer family, we need to get them on so we can send an apology up to Clemson and pass that through Will Vandervoort or whatever his friggin' name is, so he can get that to the leadership at Clemson. We don't want to upset the apple cart up there.
People that say that about kids, though, I just want to take a hammer and rip it through their teeth. Like,
oh, dude,
like totally dental work, 2,000 worth of dental work. Hope you don't choke on.
Like
your,
I'm so protective of my kids and how some people they're just morons. If I ever just don't show up to the show, just understand if I'm not dead for some reason, I'm in prison because I've probably killed somebody for something that they either wanted to do or attempted to do to my children.
Yeah,
I have no problem saying that.
Updating that halftime score: Arkansas 41, Missouri 40 at the women's tournament. Also, a quote from Mark Kingston today. He said everything's on the table as far as the weather. there have been preliminary discussions. So
there have been. I talked to somebody in the program literally right before we got on the air. They're going to try to get it in tomorrow, but here's the thing: they will bang it early. If they wake up tomorrow morning and they're like this, because they play at 1 on Saturday, not like 4 o'clock or something. So they're going to have to be at the ballpark at between 9 and 10 a.m. So they're not going to want to throw the first pitch at 8 or 8:30 on Friday night, play to midnight, go home, get a couple hours of sleep, and then get right back up, have team meal, and get to the ballpark. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
JC says that was a false report. That's a false report? So somebody said the guy died and he didn't die?
Wow.
What?
Butt crack sports.
I mean, I'm not calling JC out here. I'm saying what
JC
what
doofus
would say somebody died? It didn't die. I mean, I just assume when you report somebody's dead that they're dead. Do we really have to start looking into deaths now? I mean,
well, when I worked at Rivals.com, I built this online community that's still there to this day, called the Main Board, where all fans just got together and talked about recruiting with each other. And there was a fan called Super City. He was a Southern Cal fan. And all of a sudden one day it's like Super City was tragically killed in a car wreck this week or whatever. And blah, blah, blah. And people were like devastated because he was a really nice poster or member or whatever. People made little avatars to put in their profiles, like Super City gone but not forgotten. They were like, man, he had a wife and kids, and they were raising money. It was before GoFundMe, thank God. Turned to find out this guy had no wife, no kids, just a loser that sat in his mom's basement and faked the whole thing.
Wow.
I banned him and his IP 3 different times off the entire Rivals.com network. I was like, you don't do that to people, man. It's just senseless.
Jeez.
But looking back on it was very interesting. But
wow.
Okay, the guy that died was a big Vandy baseball fan. And for some reason, people thought it was one of the Whistlers, but it wasn't. Thanks, Kevin. Kevin knows.
Good.
Kevin lives in Murfreesboro, if I'm not mistaken.
Thank you, Kevin.
So
good.
All right, so Wayne brings something up. It says something about okay, go ahead. Sorry, Jimmy.
No, I wouldn't say. You're good.
No, I was just gonna. You mentioned Lenora Sellers has the look of Deshaun Watson. I'm not gonna go that far yet, but and I'll also say this: he probably has about 20 pounds on.
Yeah, he might
Deshaun,
be the physique of Deshaun.
Couple of inches. I mean, reminds me of a bigger Dak Prescott with kind of the way he plays.
Phil, call it that now. National championship 25.
That's it. We're going.
Dak Prescott, Deshaun Watson into one. Lenoris, Watson, Prescott, Sellers.
I'm going to tell you this, though.
Rattler needs to go ahead and hit the portal in the spring this year. Bring him on. Let's go.
Yeah. Not apologizing for that one, Will. National champs 25 with Lenoris Prescott.
Day says there's a Gamecock fan on the Big Spur who did that recently. Black Flag. He still posts on Gamecock Central, though.
Who did what?
Faked his own death?
Did he kill somebody?
Oh, come on.
All right, well, I'm going to go ban his IP
That's
now
right. Yeah.
and send him an email.
Do people realize when you do that, like, if you actually die, it's really not that funny? Like, I mean, that's just ridiculous.
Yeah, people actually die. I mean, what are you doing? I mean, especially if you're a grown-ass man and you're, like, wanting sympathy so bad.
Like, what kind of piece of crap are you? Like,
the lowest.
Jeez.
Well,
Clint, even better. I like it, Clint. Let's keep this thing going. The Beamers, they need to look in the mirror and look in a camera and apologize to Clemson for running down the hill. And we've got Elway, Marino, Prescott, and Deshaun Watson plugged all into Lenoris Sellers.
That's right.
I mean, we're never going to lose again. This is amazing.
I mean, he is. He's Montana and Young, all in
we have a little,
everything you need.
A little chippy here lately, a little confident here lately. But
who has?
No, I'll just say this: 6'2", 6'2 and a half, 235 can throw it. Who said something today about Sellers' arm? It was maybe Trey Knox, one of the, or Josh Simon, one of the new, because he flicks his wrist, it goes 60 yards.
Yeah,
it runs 4.4. That's the key part for me. I'm like, There's a lot of big quarterbacks with big arms, but can they move? Now, just because you can do it in a straight line does not necessarily mean you're elusive. Like that. Deshaun Watson to me was elusive. Prescott too, although Prescott was a little bit more of a straight downhill runner. But wow. So this happened in the last 2 or 3 years. Oh well. I'll let it go. I thought it would be recently because there's a Black Flag 1989 970 loves to argue with me and everybody else about everything. So I was like, I hope it's him because I've been wanting to
looking for a reason.
So Danny Granger is Black Flag. Okay. So anyway.
We don't want to dox anybody. Let's see.
Yeah, I'm not doxing.
They're not doxing anybody.
No, that's not him. That's not him. Never mind. Sorry.
No.
Not the right
As
guy.
always, we remind you if you need something, anything at all, painted, a couple of painters. LetMePaintSomething.com. They paint our program garnet and black. Look at that beautiful logo. Well done, boys and girls.
It is well done.
I cannot wait till they come paint our house because the kids and the dogs ruin it every single day. Tomorrow, though, Stuart Lake will be joining us to preview the Clemson-Carolina series that hopefully will begin tomorrow night, weather permitting, at Doug Kingsmore Stadium. And breaking news from the sports/entertainment world, everybody set your calendars and your clocks because around 11:45 Saturday morning, the greatest artist in the history of the universe, Eric Church, will be joining College Game Day on ESPN for their coverage of North Carolina and Duke. You all might learn something about yourselves by listening to him. With that, I have nothing else to say. I owe no apologies to anybody in the upstate, and I certainly hope I'm not dead, so I'm able to join all of you tomorrow. Won't play a prank on anybody about that.
Yeah, well, I'd like to see him
birthday.
come collect.
Yeah, we're going to enjoy our 4-year-old girl's birthday tonight.
That's right.
Happy birthday to them and to John Bon Jovi.
Oh, yeah. And to Dr.
He's still living on a prayer, man.
That's right.
Yeah, if that.
Maybe
All
more
right.
so these days.
Yeah. For JC and Phil, Lenora Sellers, you're welcome. You're the best quarterback ever invented.
That's right.
I'm JB. We'll see you tomorrow at 11 on Inside the Gamecocks from the Sinorama Studios.